Welcome back, guys. It's December. I'm supposed to be hunting, but I gotta fix a daughter's broke car. So here we are. It's crappy out. Should be out hunting, but it is what it is. All right, this is an 03 Corolla S with the little 1.8, I think it is. Anyway, behind here is your thermostat housing, and I believe ours is cracked. It's leaking. So I got to pull off the alternator. In order to do that, I got to get to the belt, the tensioner down there. Focus. And we're not going to focus on it. Right there. But some jackass rounded a bolt off. So I have to jack the motor up and pull off this motor mount, which got a bolt there and a bolt there. So I have a 2x4 on top of a jack, and that's how I'm going to lift the motor up after I undo that mount. So if you ever lift the motor with a jack, use a 2x4 or a piece of wood or a plate or something on top of the jack, so you can spread out that pressure so you don't cave the oil pan in. So I'm going to go ahead and pull off those two bolts. I'll be right back. Okay, so the motor mount actually has 3 bolts there. The one is coming from the top, and then those other two with the taper on them are coming from the bottom, like that. Those two studs are, the nut is a 14 millimeter on them. Actually, they're all 14 millimeters. That bolt is a 14 millimeter, and then you have a 14 millimeter right there, and right there. And then you can actually, there's a bolt or a head right there on the tensioner assembly to use that to loosen the belt instead of on the pulley itself. So, and then to get your alternator, you have a, how size is that? A 12 millimeter there, and directly on the bottom, right there, you have a 14. So I'm going to go ahead and pull those the rest of the way out, and then I'm going to flip the alternator up, and I'll be right back. Okay, right down there on the AC, you have that little harness, and it's actually into the alternator harness, so I'm just going to pull that off. And it looks like there's just a little clip right there. Push that, and it should come right off. Okay, I got it flipped up over. The bottom of the alternator right there kind of sits right here, so you got to kind of wiggle it out a little bit. And that's our culprit. It's leaking somewhere on there, so we're gonna pull that off quick and check it out. And I have a random bolt down there. That's cool. Alright, so I pulled the hose off the thermostat housing, this guy right here, and there's 2 10 millimeter bolts. And then I pulled the thermostat out. So let's go ahead and grab the new thermostat in the housing, and I'll be right back. Here's a new one of these. I'll see if I can't actually, I think one of these is a part number. I don't know for sure though. And then a thermostat and a Velcro gasket. So the O-ring actually has a little notch, well, a groove in it right there, and it just goes around the outside of the thermostat like that. So put it around your thermostat like that. Make sure that little hole is free of any dirt and grime. and it goes in there like that. And that random bolt I found was actually the intake bolt right there. Alright, so now that you got that thermostat in there nice and seated, you need nothing else for this. This goes on right like that. Now it's cold out here, it's 30 some degrees, but these are composite and don't go torque crazy on it. When you're tightening this down, I'll post a torque spec down in the comments or in the description for you. That way you don't break it. Typically you don't actually need to replace that outlet, this guy, but I was leaking somewhere down there and I didn't want to take a chance that this was cracked and not have the part, so I just put one on there just because. I still don't know where it was leaking there. I checked my hose, and my hose is actually in decent shape, so I might end up having to replace it, but let's hope not, because I don't want to take this back apart. So at this point you can put that hose back on there, get your handy dandy little clamp, put that on that housing, flip it around though. Right like that. I'm going to put that hose back on there quick. Alright, we got that back on there. So now we can go ahead and put this bad boy back into place. And I'm going to go ahead and rotate that down and slide it onto that bottom mount. Okay, so it's actually easier to do this top alternator bolt. Snug it down and wiggle the bottom one on there. But your tensioner, see that move? It's actually on a shock absorber right there. So I'm going to go ahead and put this belt back on and be right back. Okay, so now put that back into place. And there's enough room here to just lift it and put it on there. And this is where I would put your two nuts on the bottom first. And it's super nice if you have a little cordless impact wrench like that. Otherwise, it's not going to be fun. And these are 14 millimeter. Okay, now go ahead and put your top one in. Again, that's a 14 millimeter. And now the mounts to the car, go ahead and lower this down. And it helps if you have the center bolt loose, because then the mount plays around a little bit. So now we're going to slowly lower the mount to the car and put those bolts in. Okay, I pulled off that bolt and that bolt for the power steering, so I can get to that one a little bit easier. Okay, get that mounted back up. Make sure everything's tight. And you can put your cover back on with your 10 mils. Like that one. And that's it. So at this point, you'll want to put some coolant in it right there. Okay, go ahead and have your partner start it. And you're going to put coolant in right there. I use this stuff. Alright, so get the coolant in there. I took about a gallon. And make sure you have heat and everything else, and you should be good to go. So this was kind of more of a pain in the ass than I thought it was going to be. But yeah, comment, like, subscribe, share us. Ask questions. I'll help you as much as I can. All in all, it took me about an hour and a half to do this. Not too bad, but more of a pain in the ass than I thought it was going to be. But anyway, deuces.